of those things that are prompted in front of you. You can use the floor, you can use the wall. You have a couple of minutes. Don't even think, just list it out.
For ourselves.
Yes, for yourselves. You don't have to put your name. You're just going to list all of those variables there. If you have a question about one of them, you can ask the group. You're just going to list, so pretend you're filling out like a resume or a survey or an application. You're just going to list all those things about yourself. Oh, okay. Be as honest, as complicated as you want. Once you finish, go ahead and come up to me, and I'll give you a piece of paper, and you can post your paper on the wall.
On the wall?
See? Spread it out. One of the main points about intersectionality theory is that you really can't look at a single issue or a single factor, societal factor at a time, because each of us are whole beings and we are very diverse. And depending on the situation, some circumstances call on certain issues such as class more than others. Your experiences are all different, and women of color started talking about those differences and how they're all very complex, because within the feminist movement, everybody was talking about issues about women, assuming that all women were equal or had equivalent experiences to each other on all issues. And that wasn't the point. Obviously, if you're a black woman, then you also have to deal with issues of race, and most likely also issues of class during that period, and maybe nationality. So, let's go ahead and come back around into a circle that fits this whole area here. Okay. So, are there any particular moments that surfaced for you while we were doing that back-to-back exercise? That would be an example of maybe something that you've experienced in your life that's related to issues around identity. I'll share one. I work in a restaurant aside from other jobs, but that's one of my pay-the-bills job. And on the first day that I was hired, my employer said that I must always be in uniform, and that includes makeup. And so of course I said, okay, because I needed a job. And so I have to wear makeup. So telling by this diagram that we have below, most people kind of address issues of identity in these four main categories. There's gender, there's race, there's class, and then there's a popcorn corner. Popcorn corner is always the corner, well, it depends really on your individual situation. Popcorn corner could be nationality, popcorn corner can be language, maybe not being able to hear, or a different ability physical-wise. So that's always going to be different. But telling from my story, what do you think is like the primary issue that I was experiencing? Gender. So I would ask everybody to move here in the gender box. Do we all fit in the gender box? Good. So we all kind of
Actually, yes.
somewhat
Yes, we do.
somewhat agree with y'all. Okay, this is an issue of gender. Okay, cool. Now let's scoot out back to the circle. has come up for anybody else here, not necessarily around gender. What's another moment that you're like, what does this mean? And I want to talk to everybody around it, but nobody really talks about this stuff and it's weird.
Being a female musician.
Being a female musician? Okay, what's that?
It's just gender too. It's being stereotypical that if we're musicians, especially if we can't play or we don't have the lay on us, you know. Yeah, we get criticized a lot by men, especially. So it's always like a competition. It shouldn't be. There's some women out there who are like amazing musicians, but that's an issue that I've come across throughout my life, being a musician.
Men assume that because we're women and we're in an all-female band that that's all we see about as female, and that may be true, but it's not the point. The point is just because we're women doesn't mean that we can't be in a band just because, you know, men are, you know, it's like a default for them, like, oh, well, we're men, so it's okay for us to be in a band, but if you're a woman, oh, you're just crying about women issues. It's like, no, it's because we're musicians too. We want to play music just like everybody else.
So where would that go? That scenario?
It's back in gender.
Back in gender again? Okay. Let's say,
It could also be class as well.
how so?
So there's different types of music out there. You can categorize music. There's pop. There's
A woman is more accepted in some genres of music than
Yeah.
others. Like punk rock or something like that's a lot harder for a woman to
Yeah.
get any kind of respect.
Punk rock. Okay, so then that could also be issues of class, right? We can move into class.
I have one.
Mhm.
Sometimes when I take the bus to work, I fall asleep and I miss my stop. So I gotta walk down a different street, or I could walk back to the main street, but I decided to walk through a different street, through a neighborhood. And it's a really nice neighborhood. I see all these nice houses, and I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble just by walking through that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like that?
Because they're gonna know I don't belong there.
Because it's a
Feel
rich
that you don't belong there, even though you belong anywhere.
Well, I don't feel that, but I know,
That's what they're thinking.
people are
They
gonna
make you
think that.
think that way.
So, what do you guys think? Go where you think it is on that map. So, anybody not in class? The dog. Okay. Well, I'm gonna problematize this and say, well, what if you're dealing with issues of internalized racism, and it's like, and I'm saying that because that happens to me. Sometimes I'm in an area where it's very affluent and tends to be my majority Anglo, and so I'm like inferiority complex coming up. I'll be the servant, I'll be the peasant, right? That could be race. What if it's nationality? I don't have any papers and I'm totally out of context. I could get stopped by a cop at any moment. I don't need to be here. I don't belong here.
If you have blue hair and stuff, that might freak some people out.
Yeah, that might not. Yeah, I think that could be popcorn. It's not so much class. And
That's where I was
Well,
going.
I'm
It's
not
not
even dressed like this.
Pop.
Yeah.
Cool.
By the way.
Let's go ahead and try it out. So for Ray, it was class right away, and he said it too because he said wealthy, right? Wealthy or one of
I
those.
said nice.
Nice.
Or big houses.
Big houses.
Neighborhood.
So, but for somebody else, depending on where you stand, it can be another issue that's at the forefront. And that's another main point of intersectionality, that depending on where you are in the center of things, who you are, all these things and what your experiences are depicts how you're going to see like any situation at any given moment, because yours is unique. Anybody else want to throw out a story?
Where I work, I I'm actually forced to on purposely pull CDs that are rap and R&B because we're not in so many words, but basically we have to do it because the company I work for assumes that Black people or Hispanics will come in and steal rap music and R&B, and I do what I do for my job, but I don't believe that at all. Anybody can steal anything. It has nothing to do with race. So I do have to deal with that at work. It's really uncomfortable because I can't really tell my boss what I think. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but it feels wrong. You know, like who am I to judge anybody by their skin? You know, just because it's rap or R&B, and it's specifically those two categories. It's bullshit. That's like having a cool country because I'm gonna assume some white guy's gonna come in and steal fucking garbage, you know.
So where would you guys go to represent Foxborough?
I would go race.
You would go to where?
Race.
Race? Anybody go anywhere
I
different?
think race and class.
Yeah.
Race and class?
I think it's class, because if you were a manager, you could make those decisions. You wouldn't have to listen to anyone and tell you to make those decisions.
It's interesting because at every point, whenever we address these issues, we deal with them on an individual level, right? Like this is how it's affecting me individually. And then we also experience these things as a group. You know, it could be this group here, you know, at this moment, it could be a group of friends, maybe around the same age group, or your family. Everyone's going to experience it differently, especially if there's like one main factor that pulls you out together. And then you have the societal level of how these things function. So there's the individual, the community, and then the institutional. And all of these issues permeate up and down, right, and affect us differently because of where we stand in this country. Okay. Anybody want to respond to her last scenario? Anybody think it's anything different? We heard class. Anything else that might be a factor?
Maybe popcorn, as in taste, because rap and hip hop is pretty awful.
So maybe manager is like, it's so awful, why do we sell it? So that's what it is, it's personal preference. Okay, well, as long as
What would be an
it's
example
not
of popcorn?
What
What would be an example of popcorn?
anything else, any other factor that is not listed here? So here you listed, in addition to race, class, gender, we have sexual orientation, we have sex, which is not the same thing as sexual orientation. We have nationality, we have citizenship status, we have physical ability, able, differently abled, right, in whatever way. We have age, religion, spirituality, and language.
It seems like a common factor that's in all of these, even though they're all very different, is fear.
Fear.
Like it looks like, fear of being judged by not being fear of the company having people come in and steal their stuff. Fear of maybe guys being intimidated by the women rocking out harder than they can, maybe.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a fear.
Yeah. It certainly produces fear.
Yeah.
It makes us fearful of ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
And that's probably like a mechanism of a system of domination. It's fear, coercion, and then you have institutional things that are institutionalized like laws. Or, it all works hand in hand. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the other aspect about these issues is that they, like we were talking about earlier, they happen at an individual, community, and an institutional level. And so they happen, let's say, this way and this way. And the feminists of the 80s that were kind of converting into this kind of wave of feminist thought started coining the term interlocking systems of oppression. So like you were saying, it seems like they're all kind of got a little bit of each other in them, that's exactly how it works in society. It seems like every time we have an issue, if you're a woman, there's always an issue of class and gender. They seem to go hand in hand. Depending on wherever else you're at, you know, if you're queer, for instance, it's always an issue of gender, sex, and sexual orientation. Those kind of go hand in hand. Depending on where you stand, you could be an immigrant, then there's always an issue of status, nationality, language, right? It goes hand in hand. And usually based on those experiences, there's also issues that maybe you're more likely to feel more inclined towards helping because of where you stand in the center of everything. So this is a part of the reason why within the local kind of grassroots organizing movement, there's been more of a trend to kind of look at things not just through a single issue perspective, but to look at things through a multi-issue perspective. And that doesn't mean that, you know, if you're someone that's all about workers' rights, that you drop all your attention about workers' rights and then go do everything else. It just means that while you're working on whatever issue or issues are super important to you, that you're going to consider all of these other different elements because they all work hand in hand. And when you look back at history, you see that in all of the movements, there is like a dissent of some sort that's from the group, and the dissent is usually because I wasn't heard, my issue wasn't heard, my issue that wasn't everybody's issue but was a particular wasn't heard. And so now I'm going to move away, regroup, and work around those things that are important to me. And that's going to happen because we're human, but multi-issue analysis is the approach that a lot of people are calling for and that I think is the most powerful. Like I just saw a picture on Facebook, and it was a picture of the Palestinians, right? The Palestinians who are going through their own warfare at the moment, wearing a picture of the President Hugo Chavez, right? That just passed away. Like I don't know how many thousands or millions of miles they are apart, but they know about that community's, you know, struggle, and they're in support. They may feel alienated or isolated in their own, and carrying, you know, flags, their flags. So that's an example of how you in your everyday, in your own issues that you're working on can kind of incorporate this framework into your own work and into your own embodiment and find ways of connecting to each other in a more real and honest way. So let's come to the center, walk around. And you're just going to walk around each other. You're going to imagine that the space between two people is a doorway or a pathway, and you can only walk through pathways. Walk through pathways. Creating pathways, walking through them, hopefully not using your force or anything. And you're going to come into slow walk, and you're going to place your hand inside the circle anywhere and reach out for somebody else's hand. Good. Pass through all hands. Maybe take a left. Come in if you want. Good. Somebody wants to switch out? Come in. Don't be scared. No, that's wrong. So, and switch hands with another person. One of your hands.
Where do we go?
I still have a hand.
So this is what our world looks like. All diverse and complicated and interlinked. And slowly we're gonna find a way to unravel.
Are we still gonna stay connected?
Yes.
Okay, keep holding hands.
Unraveling, finding a way
It's not gonna work.
to come back to a circle in some way.
This part right here, please, people, that's not gonna work.
I'm stuck.
So you're gonna have to go under.
Not just go off the load.
Somehow I ended up doing
Here I go.
There we go.
Alright, cool.
Uh,
Thank you. This is the first workshop. Please stick around for the remaining workshops and please look around and see what people wrote. Maybe there's something that you didn't know.